In this video, we're going to cover some of the new features that the Power BI team has released as part of the June 2021 feature updates, including things like the Paginated reports visual, direct query support for Dataflows, and more. So without further ado, let's get started. Hi, my name is Fernan and welcome to the Solutions Abroad YouTube channel where we cover tips, tricks, and best practices when working with Power BI. I upload new videos every week, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to get notified when a new one is out. So the first feature that we should cover is probably the Paginated reports visual. It's now out for public preview. This new visual lets you render your Paginated reports that you published into the service to your normal Power BI reports. It gives you flexibility to work with Paginated reports and normal reports together. And if you've never worked with Paginated reports before, they're essentially Power BI reports that are printer friendly. They have pixel perfect layout that is very suitable for printing. Paginated reports are a premium feature, so that's why you've probably never used it. But if you do use it, now you have the flexibility of rendering that Paginated report into your normal Power BI reports. The next set of features are more customizations for existing visuals. So with the area charts, you can adjust their transparency, whereas before you were stuck at using it at 60%. For your different charts like bar charts, column charts, and cluster charts, you can now adjust the inner padding for continuous axis, where this existed before in categorical axis. Now it works on continuous axes as well. So this means that you can control the thickness of your bars and also what is the spacing, the white space between each other. There is now a responsive toggle for small multiples, and this kind of controls the elements that are hidden when your visual shrinks to make space for your plot areas. They've also added the ability to conditionally format your titles and background colors for small multiples. Basically, it gives that FX icon next to the title or the background color, which allows you to customize using DAX. So I'm sure it will be handy for our creative folks out there. More improvements on the Q&A feature. So now when you type your questions, you will now get the showing results at the bottom of the bar, which will show you how the Q&A engine interprets ambiguous questions. So basically it shows a more verbose version of your question, bolding out anything that it infers from your ambiguous question. And if you're curious about how to use the Q&A feature, I covered it in a separate video, so check it out if you haven't yet. Direct query support for Dataflows is now generally available, and if you don't know either the Dataflows or direct query, I have separate videos on those, so check them out if you haven't yet. But if you already know what these terms are, this basically allows you to connect to your Dataflows via direct query, similar to how you would connect to a SQL server. And direct query, unlike import mode, only sends the queries for the visualizations that it needs, which means that it's very efficient when it comes to working with large data models, and especially useful now with Dataflows. So now you can support working with larger data flows using direct query. But what's even more exciting is what they put in the footnotes. If you pay attention, you can see that they are preempting how it would look like in the future. So it looks like they're working on implementing query folding for improved performance, and also Dataflows connectors for Excel. So it means you can connect to your Dataflows as you normally would with SQL servers or other types of sources, which is great. Looking forward for those. A while ago, if you remember, we covered how you can use dynamic mQuery parameters in order to add filter context to your direct query sources. And when that feature was first released, you only had the ability to select one item from your slicer at a time. But now with this new update, you're able to configure it so that you have a select all feature or select multiple items with your mQuery parameters. To be honest, I don't use direct query methods too often, but if you're interested in implementing it, they've posted a lengthy step-by-step guide in the blog post, so you can follow that if you want. Just bear in mind the limitations and considerations at the very end of the process, so leave a link to the blog posts down in the description. There are a bunch of new utilities to support our Power BI admins for this month. Admins will now have more controls over dataset discovery. So you remember those tags to promote, endorse, or certify your datasets? Now as tenant admin, you can now control exposure of these datasets, like who can see certified datasets, for example. I haven't really covered how to use these labels yet, but we'll cover it in my next videos. One of these new controls is now you can toggle a setting to give anyone who requests dataset access to get a custom message instead. So it's really really handy if you have other custom steps to access the data within the reports. You can now enforce label policies for data that is published into the service. So when this feature is enabled, it requires your users to label their data if it's sensitive or not. And you can configure this in the Microsoft 365 Compliance Center. So you need to be some sort of admin in order to configure these sensitivity labels. You can now use the admin APIs to apply labels in bulk. So this is a great feature if you have a large number of data sets that you manage. And finally, more support coming in for the Power BI deployment pipelines. Deployment pipelines are a premium feature, but if you don't know yet, they basically help you follow the typical software dev life cycle. So if you have to go through development, UAT, and production pipelines when you're making changes. And using the admin API lets you manage your pipelines through code, which is great, especially if you need to do bulk or automated processes. They've also announced the ability to manage data flows within your pipelines, which is great, but I'm surprised that it wasn't supported before. But anyway, it's a great and necessary addition. And that's really it for this video. So we covered the features that are the main ticket items and also those that I'm interested in. But if you want the full list of features as part of this June update, I'll leave a link to the blog post in the description box below. Thanks for watching as usual. Give this video a like if you found it useful. Give it a dislike if you didn't, so I know to do better for next time. Ask your question in the comments below so I can help you and you can help others. If you enjoyed this video, we have a Patreon page where you can support the channel and get exclusive perks like early access, demo files, and credits at the end of these videos. Thanks again for watching and see you in the next one.